Hi everyone, welcome to the Firestarters video series. As you know, I'm Steve Scheier. I've worked in cannabis since 2018. I talk and I write about power, and I offer leaders in cannabis leadership guidance and curated advisory boards. And soon I'll be offering cannabis CEO leaders a Cannabis CEO Council. I'm also the co-author of Power Up Essential Tools for Cannabis Its Leaders, which is available on Amazon. I'm really happy today because our guest is Ashlee Foy. She is the president of Arise Bioscience. She is a health and wellness expert with a really wonderful and unique background and experience. Ashlee, welcome to the show today.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's my great pleasure. Thank you for being on. So Ashlee, I always ask people to start off with the whole idea of what's going on with cannabis in your state, what's going on with cannabis in your region, and then we'll get into very specifically the very exciting work that you're doing. So please talk about what's going on with cannabis in your world.
So I'm based in Florida, and we now have opened it up to medical. So we do have medical dispensaries in the state of Florida. It is on the docket for recreational. I think potentially it should probably pass this year, if not next year. I think everybody's for it. So that's kind of where we are in Florida, is that we're just making those little strides to make it legal for everyone and make it very accessible to everyone.
Wonderful. And are you seeing it sounds like you're seeing the potential for and I've had one or two other people in Florida on. Everybody thinks it'll be very, very strong growth in Florida.
Absolutely. I mean, if you know Florida, the middle of the state is really a lot of farmland. So I think that will bring probably a lot of cultivation and, farming as well to the state, which is nice because I think a lot of it is in different regions. So I think that we'll have that, but we'll also have just an opportunity for people to be exposed to the plant, to be exposed to the treatment of the plant and look at it a different way.
Yeah. So Ashlee, I was very excited when we met. I thought you had a really unique and wonderful story. And so please tell us about your origin story in cannabis, because you've been interested in health and wellness for many years. And this is a new step on that path. And please tell us about your origin story in cannabis.
Sure. So I have 25 years in the health industry. I started off as a physician's assistant in dermatology and plastic surgery. Moved into starting my own company during the dot-com boom, kind of moved into that entrepreneur spirit. So I've been with large companies, I've been with small companies, and I started consulting companies about 5 years ago that really wanted to take their company from either a small regional company to national or international. I assisted international companies to the United States in the health industry, and got connected with Arise Bioscience in 2020. They were looking to really take their brands. They have two brands, take them to a different level with marketing, education, their message. And they really wanted to be more of that wellness brand versus kind of having that, oh, you're a CBD company. So I came on board as a consultant in 2020 and just really looked at the brand, looked at the products, looked at what they did, looked at kind of like the structure of where they were going. And they were going in this very function specific, treating certain ailments that CBD and cannabinoids really can help. And coming from being an athlete my whole life, being in the health and wellness, really believing in natural products should be from the earth versus a lab. Looking at this and trying them, I was like, well, I've never been a weed smoker. I've never been involved in CBD or hemp. And I was like, well, I'm going to try these. I'm just going to see what this is all about. So I started taking the relief capsules, and I really noticed that within like 2 weeks, I was sleeping better. Wasn't having the hip pain that I had. And I was like, they're on to something. So then I started talking really with their development team, their president at the time, and said, okay, what can we do here? Because as me coming in, I see that we have 15 different SKUs that are CBD oils and that aren't function specific. We have gummies that aren't function specific. For me, as a consumer,
and Ashlee, if you could say what function specific means to you, please.
Sure. Function specific being if I have sleep issues and I'm unable to sleep, if I have pain in my body, if I am stressed and I'm seeing my body react to that stress. So very function specific of what cannabinoids contribute. So I looked at that and I said, let's look at this as me coming from the outside as a consumer that's never been exposed to this, because that's who we're targeting. We're targeting people that don't know about cannabinoids, that don't really know about hemp, that only think of it as the weed from the 60s and the 70s. So I said, if it was me, I'd want to know exactly what I needed to take for that ailment, what milligrams, what product, how I take it, so that I don't have to be confused or have doubts that it's not working, or even the expectation that it was going to work and it didn't work because I wasn't taking the right dosage or the right thing. So we basically looked at the market and realized that there's not a lot of companies that actually create systems that basically are function specific for that particular ailment. Mm-hmm. So we looked at the two top things that people use this plant for, which is pain and sleep issues. So I said, let's start with pain and let's really create a system that has each product in it that has a purpose. And let's create a system that's for pain and inflammation in the body. And that's it. That's what it's for. So we already had the pain relief capsules and we needed a tincture, we needed a gummy, and we had a roll-on that I felt like just needed to be a little more advanced in the technology. Mm-hmm. So we redid the roll-on and really came up with a system that treats the body from the outside in. We came up with a water-soluble relief tincture that has the same supplements like turmeric and boswellia and willow bark. We came up with a gummy that has magnesium and ashwagandha in it. So we really took what supplements the world knows and then put it with cannabinoids. So it's kind of like the powerhouse system for pain inflammation. And they all kind of have a purpose. Like your capsules is really to build up your endocannabinoid system so that your body tells your brain, you need more of these. The tincture is that 30 to 45 minute, you need some type of relief. And it's water soluble, so it's not breaking down the MCT oil. The gummies are that midday of like, I just need a little edge taken off. I just don't feel that good. So, and the roll-on is topical as needed. So it's every product has a purpose. And we're going to do that for sleep. We're going to do that for stress. And we're going to do that for focus so that we can really hit the market with a complete system that's very, very easy to the consumer.
That sounds great. So, Ashlee, one thing, I'm an organizational development person by trade. I like organizational stories. So you were hired into a company that already existed. And so, but they could do better, right? And so what were the challenges that, without, I'm not trying to put anybody in the spot, I'm just saying, what were the challenges that you as any leader would face coming into an organization that had some success, but you wanted to ratchet them up even further?
Well, coming from corporate, everything has a structure, and there's always a timeline and a process, how to get to growth, how to get to success. And you can basically mark down those timelines and things that you need to do. What I found in this industry is that those lines are very blurred and very skewed. And the industry is so young that they were bringing people of outside relationships into a company that might not be
violating the first rule of my book, which is no, they're not your friends, right?
Correct. And then keeping the employees and not saying anything bad about them, but keeping them in the wrong position. And I think that's key, is really having, if you want to grow a company, is you have to have the right people in the right positions and doing the right things for your company. I do believe that a company is a puzzle. Everybody fits a purpose.
It's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
To do a complete system. And I found that it was very fragmented. So one person would have a job title and they were good at one piece of that job title, but maybe not so good over here. And it was really hard for them to realize, hey, you guys, we all have our pros and cons of ourselves, myself included. There's things that I'm not successful at.
Right.
But we have to be able to say, yes, I'm not good at this piece of the puzzle, so that we can then fill that puzzle. So there became a little bit of, I think, pushback, as I'll call it, of we don't really want to change, but we want to grow. So it's very
That's a
hard.
great one. We don't want to change, but we want to grow. That's okay. I'm going to really say that's the best line of the week, and we're only on Wednesday.
For sure, because it's like, okay, you want something, but you aren't willing to make the sacrifices to get it. And, starting my own company, you have to make sacrifices and you have to say, this is my end goal and how do I get there? So it was hard on that piece of it. It was hard to incorporate medical experience into an industry that is very fragmented, uncharted. So I come from an industry, even a skincare product would have a case study. It would have a consumer study. 9 out of 10 people felt relief. And this industry really hasn't gotten to that place to where they want to validate their products. They just kind of want to go off of like, oh, it's supposed to be good for this. Oh, it's supposed to be good for this. Or another, maybe experiment or science project versus really saying, we've got the system. Let's do a case study on 500 people that have pain and inflammation. Let's see if it really works, because then you've got validation of that it does work. If you stay on the system, it does work. So there's pushback on that. Then it's hard to market.
And if we could, this is really fascinating to me. So what, if you, I'm sure you did your own mental analysis, what was at the heart of that pushback? They didn't want to bother. They didn't think it was necessary. They were afraid to get, they were afraid what they would learn. Or do you know?
I think a little bit is ego, and we all have one. And you've been in a company for 3 years. You've started with the company at startup. You feel like you've been in the trenches and you've built the company to a point,
right?
That you feel like you've kind of validated your position. You validated what you can do. And I think, any company can get to a certain level organically,
right?
But there becomes now crossing that chasm that you basically have to figure out, how do you do that? And I think so. I think some of it was just ego. I think some of it was just the unknown territory of what I was asking the company to do, the unknown territory of, will it work? If we spend this money, will it do what she's saying it will do?
Right.
But I do think that if you can validate your products scientifically, just like the FDA looks at a drug and says, okay, it's a substance that changes or can treat a disease or cure a disease, then you have some type of foundation to stand on versus kind of, we think it will help with inflammation. It's supposed to help with inflammation. We've added all the great ingredients. So I think with consumers that are very scared to try this type of product, that's the thing that you need is validation clinically, that if they put it in their body and they believe in the ingredients, that it's going to work. Versus, will I pass a drug test? Is it going to make me high? Like all of those things that they're very, very leery of.
Right. Right. I think it's a very interesting thing. Having been a line leader at Apple and other places, a new person comes in and no matter what their credentials are, they have to prove themselves. And sometimes they do have resistance and they have to calm that resistance. Sometimes they even have to let people go because they're just so resistant. But at the end of the day, this is an important leadership step. How do you take an organization that has had some success and take it to the next level when people are afraid or concerned that they don't know what's going to happen? It's a very, very interesting and challenging leadership experience that you went through.
Yeah, because they all bonded. They were all working together since startup. Right. So I come in as this person that's kind of basically ruffling the feathers, shaking it up, critiquing the products that people were actively part of with creating, critiquing a logo, critiquing their messaging that individuals had created. And I think as we evolve in our career, it's okay to say if somebody else thinks something could be better. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to say, hey, your logo's not consumer driven. Let's make a logo that's consumer driven. Or you don't say enough about your product. Let's make sure that the consumer understands what this product is for. Right. And I think internally, I was always a part of companies that were like, we want like your information. We want your wealth of knowledge that you have there. We want everything that you can give, vomit it as quick as possible. With this experience, it was complete opposite. It was, we want it, but if you could just give it to it in microdoses, that would be fantastic. And I'm just not that person. So I'm like, I'm going to vomit on you and you're going to have to understand it. So,
yeah. So if there's an attribute that you look for in a team member, what would that attribute be? What would be, the attribute that an Ashlee Foy person needs to have in order to be successful in the company that you're running?
I would say really open to the challenge. Mm-hmm. I brought 4 employees to this company from my previous life. 3 of them were 10-year plus tenure at their old company that I had been a part of. But I believed in them, not so much their background and resume on a piece of paper. I believed in what they were able to bring. And I wanted to really push them to a level that they have, but where they were at, they wouldn't be pushed. So I do think that if people are open to a challenge and say, I accept and I'll do everything possible to make it myself successful, that is what I look for. I don't really look at a piece of paper. I came from medical science degree, and I'm now in cannabis and CBD. So I look at somebody that has a passion for something and that will do everything they need to do to be successful at it.
That's a great answer. So one of the key elements of my book is it's a book about power. And I think, my basic perspective is everyone has power and everyone should try to achieve a connection with their power. And so what has power meant to you as you've gone through your career? How have you been able to tap into your power?
Yeah, I think by being vulnerable to my not so power. I think being vulnerable to my weaknesses and having amazing CEOs that I've worked with that have taught me so much, and seeing also not so amazing CEOs and saying, I want to do better than that. So, but I think really being able to say, these are my weaknesses and how do I sharpen that skill?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ashlee, as we wrap up here in a few minutes, one of the things I want to make sure that the audience understands is what are your goals for the company? What are the major goals for the company for the next couple of years? And then how can people reach you to learn more? So perhaps you can talk about the goals for the company and what you hope to achieve in your market.
So we're really taking a look at the market. And since it's so fragmented, we're looking at basically making all of our products function specific and making systems, keeping it very, very simple to the consumer, very easy. If someone were to walk into a brick and mortar store and say, I'm really having problems sleeping, that Original Hemp would be that brand because they have a sleep system, something that's created for sleep. And I think it's important to make sure that the ingredients support those efforts. And just like sleep, you don't want to feel groggy the next day. It's preparing that brain and that receptor to make sure it also prepares you to wake up. And creating a wellness brand that believes in cannabinoids, but we don't just believe in cannabinoids. We have a lot of different supplements in our products. We believe in mushroom. We believe in a lot of other things. So we don't really want to be labeled as a CBD company. We are a wellness brand that believes in cannabinoids, but we believe in other things too. So we're just creating a natural remedy, function specific for products for consumers.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Now, one of the things that I've been always focusing on in doing these webcasts is that I try and succeed. About 50% of the people on the show are women. And I think it's really important to focus women and their achievements in the field. So what advice might you have for women entrepreneurs in the space? And what can we do to encourage and increase the number of women in cannabis in the space?
Believe in yourself, be strong, thick-skinned, because it is still kind of a man's world. And really bring to forefront the capabilities that you bring to the company. So when I came into this company and saw that they had such an amazing opportunity that they weren't really barking on. I really force fed them my beliefs. And what I thought, if we did this, we would be a completely different company. And I think if you stay on that task and you don't let them beat you up and you stay firm, I think you will eventually break the mold. Yeah. And, just really, if you want to be in it, be in it. Yeah. And there's ways for sure to be in it.
Yeah, change management is a very important part of any leader's role. You have to be. There's a part in the book where we talk about. The book is. I'll just do this very briefly. The book is divided into 4 sections: power in you, power and trust, power in communication, and power in vision. You need to have a vision in order to encourage people to follow that vision. And then you have to be able to communicate that vision. And too often, I see people not doing what you're doing a really great job of, which is they're not communicating where they really want to go, or more to the point, they see the cannabis marketplace and it's so fractured, as you've said several times, that they don't know what the best course is. And what people are waiting for is a leader with a vision and of their ability to communicate their vision. So I guess my last big question for you is, what are the steps that you take to communicate your vision? Do you get up in front of people and talk about it? Do you what's the method?
Yeah, so we, the company, we have decided to start a YouTube channel called The O Factor. That's going to be really just education for the consumers. But our team has known my vision for a very long time. And I think that, it's kind of like the athlete, let's say a short basketball player, and he wants to play basketball.
That would be me.
Yes. Huh?
That would be me.
That would be me too.
I'm in the short, I'm in like the worst possible section of the 2x2 grid. Short and slow.
Well, so you have a lot of different hurdles, but if you want to play basketball, which there are short basketball players, and some of them are absolutely amazing, is that you just don't give up. And I think that's the one thing that I did coming in, was seeing something and seeing a vision of, we could really make this an amazing wellness brand if we did XYZ. And even after multiple beatings, I never gave up that vision. I never basically said, okay, yeah, maybe you're wrong, right? All right, I don't know this industry. I never really swayed from it. I always just basically said, I know and believe in these products. And I believe that this can help a lot of people that don't know cannabinoids and cannabis. And I want to scream from the mountaintops that everyone needs to try it and understand what it does to your body and understand what molecular structure inside your body. Most people don't even know you have an endocannabinoid system. Right. So every time I say that, people are like, I have got my own. I'm like, yeah. So
it's not an option. It's not an add-on.
I know, it's like, you've got it. It's brain receptors. So, and looking at minor cannabinoids, we always talk about CBD, but I think the industry is now starting to really hone in on that there are superstar minor cannabinoids that are the superstar of particular things, like CBC being for inflammation, CBN being for sleep, CBG being that kind of overall another CBD. So I think focusing in on those minors as well is really important to this industry. And the full plant versus isolate and just extracting the CBD, really using the full entire plant as much as possible. So I've stayed on my vision. I have my vision of becoming a natural wellness brand that believes actively in cannabinoids. And I think everyone around me, every time I talk about it, they're like, you sold me just on the fact of your passion for this product. And I think that's what sells, is if you believe in it, then people are going to follow you, want to be a part of the company. They're going to want to use your products because you believe in it. And we have athletes that are professional athletes using our products that love it. So when I see people that put their bodies through what they put their bodies through every week, and they say it's really working for them, it's validation that we're creating something special.
Absolutely. So Ashlee, thank you so much for being on the show today. Please let people know how they can reach you.
At Ashlee at arisebioscience.com. Originalhemp.com is our website. And you can reach me through email or through contacting through Original Hemp website. We have Instagram and Facebook as well. Any of those platforms you can reach us at.
Wonderful. Well, Ashlee, you were an incredible delight to have on the show. You were an incredible delight, but also you have such great knowledge that really is helping the industry, and I'm very grateful for all that you're doing. And thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you. I'm happy.